Hello my fellow gamers and welcome to this list of 15 brand new and upcoming RTS and base building strategy games. My name is Peter.
And my name is Toadie.
And we are going to present to you everything from a fantasy Warcraft-like game and modern tank and naval real-time battles to science fiction starship combat among the stars. You will see gigantic battles between armies numbering in the millions, but also small squad-sized skirmishes. In case this list does not end up satisfying your thirst for new strategy games, I have a whole playlist of such videos for you, ranging from 4X and grand strategy games all the way to city building and tactical squad combat. Link up here and in the description. Now let me...
No, let me.
Oh, alright, you go first.
I am going to show and tell you more about the games you glimpsed during this intro. Liquidation, Echoes of the Past from the developers at Muriet, gives off a really strong Warcraft vibe with its art style, gameplay mechanics, heroes, and unit classes. And we know we need something to wash the stain Warcraft 3 Reforged left on our brains. Only a proper Warcraft 4 would fix this if Blizzard ever takes its head out of its... Anyway, Liquidation's setting is not just fantasy-based, but also has some science fiction mixed into it. It will offer its players a dark-themed single-player campaign, which will be playable in co-op and through different perspectives with a customizable avatar of your own deity, alongside a skirmish mode against the AI. It will also feature a fully supported multiplayer game mode with ranked and custom battles, online leaderboards, and options to spectate matches and share replays. Gameplay is based on the time-tested formula of gathering resources, capturing additional resource points, building your base and fortifications to protect your unit, and research production spiced up with mercenary camps. The game takes place in the dying plane of Vea, which has been ravaged and drained of its very life essence through centuries of constant warfare. Now, with the doomed world drawing its last breath, you arise as a lesser deity tasked with restoring the balance and ending this war before all is lost. Other notable features are day-night cycle, weather, ability to hire mercenaries, an in-game encyclopedia, fully customizable hotkeys, and an in-game jukebox filled with the finest blood-pumping music scores composed by Johan Lindgren, known for Magicka's and Helldivers soundtrack.
But if the prospect of all those actions per minute in an old-school RTS puts you off, fear not, the developers from Studio Centurion have you covered with Line War, a game which moves emphasis from micromanagement to planning, drawing orders, and executing a superior strategy in order to win. This game is a mix of RTS, 4X, auto-battler, and real-time tactics, and the developers don't hide the fact that they have taken inspiration from a leader in the genre known as Wargame. This means that you are more of an armchair general than a battlefield commander, which I know a lot of you will enjoy. This line war is happening on an endless number of asymmetrical, procedurally generated worlds on which players select their starting territories in what the developers are calling an innovative and fair picking phase. The units under your command have the traditional look and military characteristics, so you won't need to spend a lot of time learning their capabilities. The building part of this RTS is about constructing towns, cities, industries, ports, and trade routes on captured territories to earn capital, as well as refineries and power plants to power and fuel your tanks, planes, and ships. It will feature both single-player and multiplayer modes.
Now it's time for a true heavyweight champion of the genre to get back on stage. Age of Empires.
No! Wait, I want to do this one. It was my first PC game and still one of my all-time favorites after all.
Okay, fanboy, it's all yours.
Thanks. Now it's time to do this properly. It's time for Age of Empires 4! Microsoft is finally going to release a proper strategy game, and by no other developer than Relic Entertainment. These are the creators of some of the most popular and fantastic RTS games, like Homeworld, Impossible Creatures, Dawn of War, and Company of Heroes. Just so there is no confusion, Homeworld 3 and Homeworld Remastered are works of Gearbox Software, because Relic Entertainment's former publisher sold the rights to this IP. But I digress too much. You're here to see and hear about Age of Empires 4 and its return to its medieval roots. Important new features to mention right off are stealth and ambushes, what looks like an expanded naval gameplay, fighting on top of walls in sieges, and planned tournaments. Games will start in the Middle Age, move to the Feudal and Castle Age, and end with the Imperial Age. We were shown 4 out of the 8 civilizations we will get to play as. There is the Delhi Sultanate with their war elephants, a unique scholar research system, and foot units which have the ability to construct defensive structures. The English favored their archers obviously, as this was the age of the longbow, and specialized in their network of structures, town centers, outposts, towers, and castles to trigger an alarm when an enemy approaches, prompting nearby units and defensive structures to fire faster for a short period. They also have access to cheaper farms early on. The Mongols are masters of movement, and not just with horses, since they are a nomadic civilization. Their entire empire can pick up and move around the map, structures included. Their units are super fast, great at scouting, and even have a unique unit called the Khan with a special ability to boost other units. The Chinese, on the other hand, are the opposite. They focus on formidable fortifications with a strong production economy. They have a lot of gunpowder units, including siege weapons, and feature a dynasty system that provides unique benefits, all fueled by the imperial officers to which collect gold from nearby buildings. There will be more revealed, so stay tuned in. We can now hope for a new Age of Mythology, or at least a remaster, if not a remake.
I hope you got that out of your system now, Peter.
Well, actually, I'm just more excited now.
Boys. Alright folks, now let's blast off into space with 5 Nations. Its developers over at Silverforge have designed it to be a real treat for macro-micro RTS lovers. This means that players have to mine resources to construct additional mining stations, factories, power plants, and research centers to be able to produce an armada of various spacecrafts to fight enemies. Those fights will depend on the tactics and strategies you employ to outmaneuver enemy fleets by micromanaging your spaceships through conventional RTS mechanics tailored to modern action-packed gameplay. If you ever played Star Trek Armada or its sequel, you will find yourself right at home here. As the name suggests, there are 5 different alien nations to play with. Each has a unique look and feel to its structures and units, while the gameplay is governed by the same stats, like HP, armor, weapon damage, and speed of units. 5 Nations will feature a story mode complete with 56 campaign missions and a skirmish mode with over 20 maps on which to play against AIs in a customizable game with controllable difficulty settings. With the game's built-in map editor and various tools, you will be able to create your own maps and mods to play in.
Yikes! My index finger is cramping just thinking about all of that. How about we slow down the pace with more building and less micro? Mythos Slavic Builder is based on myths and legends I grew up on, and its building, management and small-scale skirmish combat is right up my alley. In this builder game, you will grow your settlement building by building, settler by settler, as you develop your economy, train your army and explore the map, trying not to have all your brave explorers and soldiers eaten alive or piecemeal depending on which monsters they run into. It is being developed by Mad Games, who have used many of the ancient Slavic beliefs to gather a colorful and bloodthirsty list of monsters who will pester your villagers. You can follow Slavic traditions to earn points that you may spend on special blessings from the gods like the warlike Perun, the generous Mokosh and the mysterious Velez. But just in case you get tired of slaying monsters, human and demon raiders will visit you from time to time to crash the party. Vikings are a staple here, but we do have a full game about them to present to you later in the video. And if you have been enjoying this one, please consider hitting that like button and leaving a comment about your favorite RTS game ever. If you also subscribe and use the bell icon, I can promise to drop more videos like this into your subscription feed.
Fear not, APM crowd, because I will tell you about another fast-paced RTS which is more your style. IMMORTAL Gates of Pyre is something of a cross between Warcraft and Starcraft, but with its own lore and gore and a couple of surprises thrown in for good measure. It's developed by Sunspear Games, who plan to perfect their multiplayer first and then add single play while not costing the players a dime. You can learn more about their business plan on their website, but we are here for gameplay and features. In IMMORTAL Gates of Pyre, players are god generals and lead their homemade massive armies to destroy each other's bases. Each of these gods represents a proud and powerful nation vying for dominance, not just through their soldiers, but through their divinely powered spells and abilities as well. But these immortals are not hero units. Rather than controlling them as persistent units, immortals only appear on the battlefield to use their powerful abilities. Each immortal also replaces 2 units with unique vanguard units to emphasize a particular playstyle. Players begin with an outpost and 6 workers on a sprawling map filled with untapped resources against 1 or 2 opponents. They build their economy and armies and use them to claim territory. Just like in aforementioned games, scouting will be key to winning, so warm up those left clicks because you will need them.
Well, I pity all those PC mouses already. Which is why I want to show off an RTS whose developers from Microtail and Crater Games aim to make it much more accessible to players who prefer less intense micromanagement. It is called Heart of Muriet, and the idea behind its combat is for the players to control entire formations or all the workers at a specific base at once. This means that players won't have to individually select or give orders to each unit. Additionally, players can pause the game to give orders to their army and then unpause to watch the destruction unfold. Besides units, players will construct a variety of buildings such as barracks and transportation portals, which all have special upgrades. Wizards are also part of the gameplay, and you will be able to research and use powerful spells to turn the tide of battles. There is a system in place to level up squads and improve their stats as they gain experience. Different maps have their own unique win conditions and sub-quests for you to play through. Heart of Muriet will feature a story-driven single-player campaign for each faction, multiplayer, and an in-game editor to create and share maps with other players. The factions themselves are quite an interesting mix. There is the Resistance, for example, which includes elves, dwarves, halflings, and the creatures of the dark, while the Mother Nature faction has a variety of animals and plant creatures.
This next game on our list doesn't have fantasy or fantastic creatures, but who needs those when you have Vikings? Frozenheim is described by its developers from Paranoid Interactive as a serene Norse city builder with elaborate management gameplay and RTS tactical combat. But honestly, who ever heard of a serene Viking? This next description of gameplay fits much better because in Frozenheim, players will get to lead their Viking clan through hardships of the frozen north season by season, year after year. You have to build structures and fortifications to survive not just the winters but also other clans. You will even be able to set sail, explore, and conquer the rest of the in-game world to win Odin's favor and secure your place in Valhalla. As you can see from the gameplay and the description, the game holds true to its mix of strategy elements. You start from basically nothing, build up your village while foraging, hunting, fishing, and growing your own food. As the Earl of your clan, you will seek the blessings of ancient shrines and build temples to win the favor of Asgard. The exploration parties you launch into the fjords of Midgard on foot and by boats will not only discover resources you can exploit, but also draw the attention of the enemies who will seek to destroy your clan. There will be introductory single-player scenarios serving as the prologue to the full campaign, as well as an open-ended free play mode and a multiplayer mode for you to fight other players and their clans.
Alright, now that we have seen a bunch of upcoming indie strategy games, let's check out another AAA champion which will blow your mind if you're a fantasy fan like me. Total War Warhammer 3. This sequel is going to be set around the reigns of Karl Franz, just like the previous games, and the primary source for lore is Warhammer Fantasy Battles 8th edition as well as some of the older versions. The game will contain a wider selection of individual races than any previous Total War Warhammer core title. The staple of this third game in the series will be the four ruinous powers of chaos: Nurgle, the Plague God, Slanesh, the Lord of Excess, Tzeentch, Lord of Witchcraft, and Khorne, the God of Blood and Slaughter, who are all preparing for war from deep within the realm of chaos. On the other side, there are two mighty Sentinel kingdoms, the stern warriors of Kislev and the vast empire of Grand Khathai, which have been expanded by their creators at Games Workshop, with whom Creative Assembly has a really close relationship. The nation of Kislev was heavily influenced by Eastern European nations such as Russia, Poland, and Hungary, while the people of Khathai are inspired by the Chinese culture. There will be 9 playable legendary lords which will lead these races into battles, and we should see much more detail about them as we get closer to the launch day. Having all 3 of the Warhammer maps in one campaign will be a sort of a DLC for owners of all 3 games. The most interesting feature in this game is definitely the fact that players will be able to recruit demons and send their armies into the realm of chaos to play a part of their campaign in this nightmarish world.
I don't know about you, but I am up for changing the scenery from fantasy to something different. Let's say another science fiction game set in space. So here is Falling Frontier by the developers behind the name Stutterfox Studios. The game is set in a vast procedurally generated star system filled with planets, moons, asteroid fields, and nebulae far from our own solar system. Its gameplay is a complex system of designing and building ships as well as minefields in different types of stations. Then there are logistics with actual physical transfer of goods and consumables, battles where weapons follow laws of physics and angle of attack actually matters. Add to that the scouting to get intel on enemy positions, interrogation of enemy officers who survived ship-to-ship combat, and other 50 features that I can't fit into this short showcase. Players will also face hard strategic choices. Do you mine the depths of a planet and risk destabilizing its gravity well? Or do you instead seek new resources in a distant asteroid field despite the danger of overswelming overstretching your supply lines. Your military in Falling Frontier will not consist of a single massive and unstoppable fleet, but rather smaller flotillas strategically distributed throughout your territory, able to respond wherever the enemy might choose to attack your logistical or industrial capacity. The ships themselves are not HP hitboxes, but complex machines with engines and ammunition stores which can be targeted to blow up or capture a ship. It's one of those games where every detail matters and has a use, so expect a long learning curve.
Now for those of you who like navies, but of the terrestrial kind, here is another sci-fi RTS, but one set on an alien planet. Developers at Recursive Paprika are trying to blend in aliens, advanced weaponry and naval combat with the classical RTS gameplay of building bases and units for all-out combat with actual consumable fuel and ammunition. In Ardent Seas, you will build and command fleets of warships led by a gigantic flagship, which has special weapons, flat decks, shipyards and research laboratories, where new units, upgrades and abilities are unlocked. Almost like a certain mothership we all love and have already talked about in the beginning of this video. In the campaign mode, you will fend off an alien invasion, and it's the only mode where you will be able to use the tactical pause to give orders while surveying the map. In single player skirmish, you will refine your skills and get ready for matches with other players in online and local multiplayer. The game features 3 unique factions: the Tenoran Defense Navy, the Coalition Armada and the Ravagers, each with their own style of gameplay and preferred combat tactics. Resources in Ardent Seas are mined by extractor structures, ore extractors on land, and hydrocarbon extractors in coastal waters. The deposits will have varying yield speeds and a limited quantity. The flagships can build small ships and early aircraft, but for larger and more advanced ones, shipyards and super aircraft carriers are in order. These are built on conquerable islands spread around the maps, along with other types of structures such as refineries and defensive installations.
Alright, time to change the setting again, but to tell you the truth, I'm not sure which time frame or setting we would even fit Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2 into. It is more of an ultimate battle sandbox, as it doesn't feature a story, characters, campaign, or lore. But what it does have is soldiers, ducks, and many more soldiers. Hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even millions of them. Basically, it's hi, I am a game with no limits, sign this waiver so you can't sue my developer after your PC goes up in flames trying to run me. And this developer works at Brilliant Game Studios on giving you the ultimate experience of pitting everything from a T-Rex against Spartans to men-at-arms against massive apes, with the bonus feature of witnessing this carnage from the first-person viewpoint. This game is advertised to feature revolutionary new crowd rendering and AI technology, which uses pure GPU power to bring nation-sized battles to life. It handles 100 times more characters on screen than its predecessor, and in greater detail and quality. Every individual has highly advanced decision-making and animation, all the while working with other individuals on a greater goal. The first game opened our eyes to the possibility of such massive battles, but this one aims to blow our brains and possibly our PC in the process of making this a reality.
While I, for one, cannot wait to see how many millions of Spartans versus men-at-arms I will be able to play on my own PC, Fire Extinguisher at ready. But speaking of reality, there is one game I cry over every single year for it not becoming reality: Command & Conquer Generals 2. Damn you, Electronic Arts! And damn you for ruining Battle of Middle-earth and Tiberian and Red Alert! I apologize. This is a really sore topic for me, but this is exactly why modders and indie developers have stepped up. They have made a mod in Red Alert 3 called Generals Evolution, which you can download at mod database and which I will feature on my channel. But there are also 2 games I want to showcase at the end of this list, which are totally made from scratch, which might finally scratch this itch of mine. Also, before these, I want to mention Commanding Nations, a brainchild from the developers 7 Volt Games, which will soon launch a Kickstarter. It will be a multiplayer game with skirmish against AI, and by the look of the art, screenshots and the devlogs, they are trying to make the Generals 2 game a reality. So keep an eye on them and support them if you can. I know I will. First of the 2 modern combat RTS games I will present is Middle East Crisis, or MEC for short. It is being developed by 3EL and the plan for it is to have a full storyline, while the gameplay will look a lot like the original CNC Generals. Its setting is given away by its name, so expect a lot of deserts and dust. There are several factions, real maps and real army units, so basically an authentic modern wargame. The development is ongoing, but it has a shadow over it, because the people making this game are from nations which in real world are never far from going to war with each other. So this is a real bridge between nations project, and I salute them for it. The gameplay basics will be as you can expect. Start with a base, collect resources, construct specific new buildings for each branch of the military, build infantry units, tanks and helicopters, and fight it out on a large map against the AI or other players. The graphics, sounds and music promise a vibrant and great looking game. Now before I show you another similar indie project, I will let Toadie show you something different.
This is the Last Cohort, and it combines RTS elements with small-scale tactics in a game where the developer Drew Melton wants you to take control of an elite group of warriors and battle barbarians to rebuild your kingdom. The story explains that the kingdom of Vorgenval has suffered major losses against the barbaric raiders who target it because of its wealth and rare minerals. The king sends these elite warriors on a quest to help rebuild the kingdom and defend its people. The Last Cohort will offer a unique blend of fast-paced real-time strategy combined with more in-depth tactical planning. Your soldiers will gain experience, gather loot, and at your camp you can train their skills and grow their strength. Players will have to gather different resources like wood and ore while also making sure all of their troops are properly fed to keep them battle ready. Towers, cliffs, walls, and other environmental elements will provide endless strategic choices.
And now for the last game on this list. As promised, it is another modern real-time strategy game from an indie developer behind the name A Great Indie Group. This game is called Tactical Combat Operations Desert Storm, and it already has a limited demo from the alpha version of the game for anyone who wants to try it out. As a long-time modder of Command & Conquer Generals, this developer wants his game to be much more realistic but also simplistic, so no advanced weapons or superpowers like in Generals. The game is made in the Unity engine, and some features that looked really cool to me in the demo were the wrecks of destroyed tanks, which do not become part of the landscape but actual features of it. There are also really realistic looking dust and smoke clouds which are created after a rocket or a shell lands and explodes. The gameplay runs on the standard construct, collect and build formula of specialized buildings for each branch of the military, with maps which even have neutral parties or insurgents guarding extra resources. There are also control points that gather resources over time, like a palace, refineries, industrial sites or city blocks. And with that, we come to the end of this video, my fellow gamers. I hope you have enjoyed this extensive list of upcoming base building and RTS games.
More videos like this are on the way, and they will be posted here as cards on the screen. If you have enjoyed my presentation, I want to invite you to check out my channel where I play a variety of simulation and management games. The link is in the description below.
Thank you for watching, and I wish you all happy gaming.